Hey, good evening guys, UC here from iTradePrice. I know we have not done a video in a couple of weeks, so apologize for that. Just been busy with some stuff with summer here, a lot going on. So without further delay, let us get started and review some of the charts. So it's a good time to actually start with the monthly view. So what's going on in the monthly view? We know we just almost a week into the month of June, and so far nothing wrong with the monthly picture, right? We are still in the uptrend, and the monthly resistance does not come into play until we have all these 1, 2, and 3 touch points. So 371, if we keep pushing further up. In a weekly view, again, no bearish follow through to any red bars since like forever, it feels like, and higher highs, higher lows. Even this sort of an indecision bar that we got last week is still kind of bullish, right? With the long bottom wick, it closed pretty much where it started the week, but the fact that when we saw any dip or any down day, the market participants saw it as an opportunity to just kind of grab the shares and push the price higher. So so right now this whole 357.5, 358 is the resistance. We have almost 2 or 3 touch points this past week where the price kind of just quickly rejected from that level, right? This was the first rejection, moved down, second rejection, moved down, and now third rejection. Now let's see if it moves down from this level 352.5, something like that, which is like could be the low of Friday, or if we consolidate here above that and try to move higher, right? But if I zoom out, you can see we're close to the top end of this this up channel. So it could be that we kind of grind above 346.5, right? That's sort of the structure low right now. As you can see, once we made the break above that, this level has held on the dips, right? So if we break down below that, we have this uptrend line and the channel support line, so we can definitely look back down, go back up, sideways, and then forward, right? So right now bullish as long as higher time frame 346.5 holds. Any dip, we'll see how the day closes. That's important, but right now I would say still looks good, right? The only thing that bears could translate into some selling is the fact that we have 3 touch points here, 357.5 area, and we have top wicks, all 3 times. So there's no closure in daily above 355.3 or 355, right? So we'll have to see if we get a daily close above 355, some sort of a smaller range day towards the early part of next week, close above 355, we can easily see a gap up and, kind of push higher. Okay, SPY, pretty much similar. Let's take a look at the monthly view. Let's go to the simple one. So we're already kind of towards the higher end of its monthly resistance, right? This was the resistance line, this was the resistance sort of a touch area, so we're right there. So we did touch that level and kind of pulled back a little bit, but nothing too serious on the downside. Still kind of nicely up. On the weekly view, here is the channel, right? This is the green channel you guys see, and then within the channel we have a little bit of up channel as well. So it could very well be that we see a little bit of dip towards the upper end of this previous week's high, and we hold that, and then we eventually move forward and go and kind of try to break higher, right? So in a daily view, I would say as long as we're holding this 425.8, as you can see, we have multiple bounces from that level this past week, right? Almost 4 bounces from that level. So definitely there could be a lot of stops sitting here for people who are long, right? So if that taken out, those stops can get triggered, and we can see further selling, right? Or it definitely could be that where you kind of dip down, buyers step in, take the price back up, and then grab kind of trap the shorts, and then we see a further fueled rally up to the top 438, 450 region, right? So right now, daily view, sort of a indecision bar, but still a higher high and a higher low. So from that perspective, still uptrend is intact, right? Until or unless proven otherwise. All right, Apple. Let's check out the limp simple one. Quick monthly view, pretty strong in the monthly view, right? But this is where we had the problem last time we were there. So right now we're almost there. We'll see how it closes, but I think maybe it's kind of maxed out a little bit here for a while. We already had this news and all that stuff, so now it did kind of pull back a little bit, but still a higher high and a higher low, right? Both top and bottom wicks. So it's a little bit of, not a whole lot of indecision, but a little weakness, I would say. But still, nonetheless, still in this up channel, right? So there's nothing wrong with that picture, right? Every time we touch the low of that channel, the price has bounced back up, right? So that quadruple could be the case. So 176.5, right? As long as this was the resistance on the way up, right? And now it has sort of shown to be a support anytime we have tried to pull back towards that level. So as long as that level holds 176.4, 176, chart looks fine on a weekly basis. Daily view, we have this a little bit of weakness every time we are above 182. We haven't really seen a close above that, but right now trend is up and trend is our friend, right? So in the daily view, you can see this was a resistance, then this became the support line, and now let's see if it wants to come down. If this holds, grabs back up, that's a good sign, right? So we'll see. And if it wants to keep going back up, 185, this previous week's high is your first initial target, and then we have kind of blue skies above that. All right, Tesla, let's go into this one right here. Monthly view. Oops, that's a weekly. Monthly view looks nice, right? We're already above its long-term down channel, right? This downtrend line, right? So we're already above that, so that's a good sign. Sort of a second higher high, higher low month, so that's all good, right? Weekly view, we did see a little bit of pullback earlier part of the week, but then it kind of held this whole level, saw a nice move to the upside. We can still see a little bit of push as this channel could be into play, right? So we can push through this resistance from where it kind of broke down from, right, all this time. So we can definitely touch 257.7, 258. There could be a little bit of gap fill above that, and then this upward trend line will kind of come into play. So we can definitely see some rejection from there, talking from trade perspective, right? So look for that kind of play. In a daily view, gap ups, right? Good strength. Yeah, just hard to be a chaser here with for someone who is trying to swing this name. You can't really swing this name right here, right? You need a pullback, so you just have to wait patiently for that. For day traders, it's definitely a nice chart to trade because you get so many intraday levels, intraday support and resistance levels that it becomes really nice and you can really play this name actively. Here's the monthly view of Amazon. So month of June started nice towards the 120 and plus level. So we have this channel, so it kind of touched that channel, and we have a little bit of top wick so far in the month of June. So nothing too serious or bearish right there, but just saying that it's sort of a setup that one can look to trade if things price touches these levels. You always get some pullbacks from this, so it can be good intraday setups. So from weekly perspective, nice up channel, higher highs, higher lows, really no pullback, more bottom wicks, things like that. This past week we had a little bit of a indecision bar, but since the trend is up, so we have to kind of keep that in mind and just use that as trend is our friend sort of a concept. So right now in the daily view, as long as we're about 119.2, kind of structure remains okay for bulls, right? Because this was the breakout bar above 119.2. We tested that level, made another high, pulled back, right? This channel line came into play. We got an inside day on Thursday. Friday was not so much of an inside day, technically speaking, but you know, I mean, if you ignore the fact that it was slightly up, it was still sort of a very tight squeeze day with a top wick. So right now, I would say if I look into an hourly view, as long as we're in this up channel, things are okay. We break this down channel, we have a little bit of gap fill here towards 121, and then definitely 119.2 becomes your support level to target on the downside if this comes down. Anything above 125.5, we can retest 127.4 and see if it wants to break higher above that or gets rejected and tries to make some sort of an ascending triangle here. Something like that, right? And then eventually breaks out or breaks down, right? So good trend line to kind of keep in mind in this good level. So triangle sort of a mode. Okay, let's take a look at Microsoft as well. Really bullish name it has been since the past few months, weeks, right? Getting a little toppy here, right? You can see all this resistance zone, all this clutter. So we're kind of getting into that region. So good. So I think maybe the nice way to play this one could be that if you see strength toward 344, 345, something like that, you kind of sell some higher strike price puts calls, right? So, and collect some premium from these, right? So on a weekly view, yeah, we kind of got a break off the higher low, but again, so far any bearish week we used to see, you know, that was seen as an opportunity for the bulls to get back in and drive the price further higher. So if that's the case, we'll see how if this week is bullish, then you know definitely that gives us a base to try further higher prices. But let's see if it breaks down in a daily view. You know, it's kind of struggling to get above this whole 355 area, right? Anytime we try to get above that, we have top wicks, we have, you know, these push towards the downside. So although the price was, overall market was, let's say, strong on Thursday and Friday, this one did not really see any significant upside, right? It kind of closed towards the low end of its week right here, right? So, you know, kind of weak price action. I think if it breaks 322 level, 322.5, we have this gap fill move towards 316, and that's where this support can come into play. Anything deeper than that, here's the uptrend line, right? On the upside, unless or until we kind of, you know, get a close above 334 or in this area above 336, things like that, where we see some price acceptance, right, over here, right, and not top wicks but bottom wicks, then definitely we can see 344, 345 test. Okay, all right. Google, let's get into the simple version chart. So monthly view, this one really played with me this past week. I was in puts. I just wish that I did not have such a hard or tight stop loss, right? I was looking for this price to get rejected from above 125, 126, and we saw nice rejection with the top wick closure towards the low end of its 2 to 3 week balance. So that tells you the price is weak or was rejected, and it was a good play. It just stopped me out. So what can you do, right? This was a support, broke down, that became resistance, and then all of now. So that's why it was a good level to kind of looking for a short play. So now in a daily view, you can see top wicks, indecision bars, still this big bearish bar mid last week, couldn't really crawl back up. So this could be a sort of a bearish flag type play here in the lower time frame, right, with something like this. And then if you duplicate that one, something like that. So if it goes back up towards 124, 125 4.5 even, see some rejection there in the lower time frame, you can definitely look for some sort of a bear flaggish play, right? But of course, if it does not do that and wants to break higher, then that scenario is dead and then you can target higher prices. But man, I was just wanting this rejection all this time, and when it happened, I was not part of that. It happens. Nvidia, really no clear way for me to trade this one or just analyze this one, other than the fact that it's been strong and now consolidating after this big gap up after earnings, right? But one way to play this name could be gap fill play, things like that. So if I bring in the other chart, this one, right? Let me go into 5-minute time frame. You can see, things like this play out really nicely, right? We saw a nice gap up on Friday. It rallied. This provided resistance, and when it came back down, it retested this broken down trend line. That's your play, right? It's a gap fill as well. So it's a gap fill, number one, right? It's a retest of the broken down trend line, two, right? Maybe some bullish price action here, bullish bars in the lower time frame, and so that's your tell to play the bounce. It gave us a nice $5-6 bounce from that level, right? So yeah, so those kind of things. And again, even towards the last 5 minutes, we saw a bounce there as well from the back test of that level. So these things are, it was a gap fill area as well. So these things are nice to play like that. Okay, so let's look at Meta. This name has also been an absolutely monster of a price action, right? So we got this first sort of a weak, price action weekly bar with a top wick. So this could be very well, give us a little bit of push down towards the high end of, the candle 2 weeks ago. So this could be our target, right? We got this support trend line, something like that could be the target on the downside, and then we can play the bounce there. It wants to bounce, something like that. Again, this is a monthly chart. Sorry, not a weekly chart, a monthly chart. So it could be that a lot of people are short against the high of this bar, right? So could be a nice risk to reward, right? So here's a weekly view. So from weekly perspective, really not much damage done to the bullish side, but just the fact that we saw this first week some weaker price action. But again, trend is your friend. So as long as this trend is intact, hard to be super bearish on this name. Yeah, you can look for some pullbacks, but really can't swing it towards the short side unless you want to take that sort of a risk, because anytime we saw these red weeks, price has pushed up the next week. In a daily view, here's how it looks. I would say anything above 268, we got this nice strong price action. Anything below that, it's kind of have to be careful, as this, we have some top wicks here and price has just not been able to breach above 268. So here's you can say a triangle sort of a pattern that could be in play, right? Where we're seeing some higher highs here. And let's see if Monday it wants to go here. Does not do that. If it breaks down this, nice flush. If it wants to break higher, then definitely you can play the top side. Okay. So here is Netflix monthly view, getting close to its sort of a structure where we saw the price getting rejected from, right? So this was a support. We saw the breakout bar, the bearish breakout, and then the next month we tried to kind of test that. We touched that level 458.5 and then broke down. So we're kind of getting close to that. So again, it could be a nice push in the short term towards that level, and then we saw some see some rejection from that level in the couple of weeks ahead if it wants to push higher, because right now it's holding this 396 400 level. So the price and channel looks bullish, right? As long as we are in this channel, I think pullbacks are getting bought, things like that. This one right here, right? And now see if we kind of move down towards 410, towards the higher end of the structure. Could nicely align with this uptrend line, and then we can see the move down up, right? If it breaks down below this channel line, breaks down below 396, then definitely we target lower prices. But right now, you have this gap up. It can definitely, fill this gap if it wants to. Early part of next week, if we see a little bit of pullback in the market and then holds that, could be a nice play towards higher prices. All right. If you have any questions, comments, please let us know. Thank you guys, and have a good rest of your week.